Yo, what's up? Welcome inside the opening line, coming at you on a lovely Tuesday. Corey and Benny getting closer and closer to kickoff for the 2019 season. Benny, what's going on?
Yeah, you're not kidding. We're closer and closer to kickoff. I mean, Thursday, I think it's this week, starting Thursday, there's like a 10-game NFL preseason DFS slate going on.
Yeah, no doubt. It's that time of year. The pads are popping. It's time for the homies to get on the field. I'm about to say the court. It's time for the home. Is that important, Benny?
No, you know what? Actually, it might be for you. So let's talk about this right now because here's the big story going on at the moment. I just got an update on something too. So hold on, give me a second here. Let me open this on my computer so I'll read it exactly to you. All right. So Roto World blurb this morning. ESPN's Josina Anderson reports Ezekiel Elliott will not play in 2019 without a new contract.
Mm-hmm.
And Anderson's source went on to say that it is not likely Elliott's holdout continues into the regular season because Jerry Jones wants to get something done prior to week 1. Perhaps this is all true, but if Le'Veon Bell taught fantasy owners to take this kind of statement seriously last year, at this point, Elliott has to be moved down draft boards. You're the Dallas Cowboy guy here, so I'll let you take this. So what do you think?
Slow news day at Roto World.
Yeah, so you think this is much ado about nothing? He'll get a deal done. People are crazy for not taking him 3 or 4 or 2 or 1, wherever he's going right now.
I wouldn't go that far. I would say that, if you're uneasy, I don't have no problem with you moving him down the draft board. I'm not uneasy. I mean, if you listen to the wording of it, Anderson's source went on to say it's not likely Elliott holdout continues into the regular season.
Right.
So, you know what I'm saying?
The headline makes it sound a lot different than the actual words inside of it all. So let me say this to you, Corey. Right now, Ezekiel Elliott is going – I mean, again, mostly between 1 and 3 on all the drafts. Yeah, 1 and 4 at worst-case scenario. So you said you'd be willing to maybe move him down. I know you're not, but if somebody's nervous about it and they're willing to move him down, how far down does he go? I mean, who other than Alvin Kamara, who's behind him right now, has been the guy who is mostly the 4th pick. I could see you saying, you know what, I don't even want to chance it. I'll take Kamara 3 instead of Zeke if Zeke is there at 3, okay. If those are the 2. How much further down would you be willing to move him? Are you moving
like the individual owners thing? Like, I'm somebody who got burnt by Le'Veon Bell last year, right?
I did too in an NFFC league, which is kind of
exactly. So
$350 down the drain, pretty much.
I'm not same price. I'm not frightened by it. So that's kind of like your own personal preference. So those dudes are not really moving him down the board. They're just putting him off their board. You know what I'm saying?
Mm. Now, like you're picking instead of taking Zeke, you're just saying, you know what, I'll go with
my board. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'll go with the safer bet right there. Somebody else will take him before my second pick anyway, and I won't have to worry about it. I got to be honest, I'm not moving him anywhere. Like, to me, I have him 3. He's still 3 on my board. I take him ahead of Kamara still. I'm not even making that switch down. And I still like Saquon Barkley and Christian McCaffrey better if I have a 1 or 2 pick and I have the option of one of those guys over Zeke. That's where I've been drafting him so far all season, and I'm not really moving him there. What I will say I will start doing, though, when you start getting into those later rounds and you're taking flyers on running backs, you best believe I'll have a little bit of Tony Pollard starting to come into my late round stuff. I think that's the better way to play it for me is maybe hope that you hit the home run, knowing that most likely it's going to fizzle out, you know?
Yeah, no doubt. I agree with that. I think Pollard's a player that should be drafted in 12-team leagues as a Zeke handcuff or maybe even – Pollard's the guy that's a flex, but at least like a safety blanket for Zeke. That's what I would do with Tony Pollard's situation. Zeke is going to get off to a slow start. He always does. Yeah, like I always tell you, Zeke is like Shaq. He play yourself into shape. You know what I'm saying? He's not off-season workout warrior type guy.
With Pollard, because I've been hearing that maybe he is, and I don't know. And like I said, you're the Cowboy guy, so every time I have Cowboy questions, I kind of bounce them off of you.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah. Are you thinking that Pollard's going to get some third down work? Because that's kind of the rumbling that's been coming out.
Yes, I think Pollard will get some third down work. The Cowboys liken him to a player like Alvin Kamara. They wanted a player like that on their team. Obviously, they think they can make a deep run this year, so they want Ezekiel Elliott to be fresh. If you remember those playoff games last year, the 2 playoff games the Cowboys played last year, when Ezekiel Elliott was going to the sidelines, you know what I'm saying, he was starting to labor. Late, he wasn't hurt. he was laboring down the stretch last year. You can tell he was getting up slow. He was calling himself out the game. You know what I'm saying? So they wanted him a little bit fresher this year. I mean, don't get me wrong. He'll probably still lead the NFL in rushing, but they want a fresher Zeke.
But the reason I asked this question, though, is especially when you're talking about the 4 guys at the beginning of the draft that a lot of people are looking at. Like, the Giants have no other running back. You know what I mean? Like, it's 100% Saquon Barkley all the time. Pretty much the same thing for the Carolina Panthers, right? Yeah. So the reason why I have Barkley and McCaffrey ahead of Zeke and Kamara is, Kamara's not going to take the whole load. Like, he'll get a bigger load than he has without Ingram being there, but they're going to work in like Lat Murray and they're going to do other things because they always do. The question I have is, part of the reason why people have been saying you could even take Zeke ahead of those 2 guys as like the number 1 overall this year is because he did have a lot of catches last year.
Yep.
So if they're going to start using Pollard in that role, there's a big difference between, I think Zeke had like 70 catches last year.
Yeah.
There's a big difference between a 45 catch Zeke, which is like 2 or 3 a game, and a 70 catch Zeke, which is 4 or 5 a game. You know what I'm saying?
No doubt. And I agree with you on that. I think the receptions probably will go down this year. I can see that, but the rushing yards will be there. But see, if the receptions go down, Ezekiel Elliott scored 6 touchdowns last year. Mm-hmm. Touchdown regression could send his numbers through the roof.
Yeah, I mean, he should, we talk about guys that have like Eric Ebron is somebody who's going to have some touchdown regression to the downside this year because the level he was scoring touchdowns last year was just ridiculous. But it works the other way, too, like you're saying. Like, a guy who has that many carries to only have had 6 touchdowns seems like a low number. Like, you would have expected him probably at least in double digits, 10, 11, 12, somewhere around there. So it could work out the other way this year where he ends up with 16. You know what I mean? Where you get that big positive upside instead of the below average.
I'm not really worried, but I can understand people that if you got burnt by Bell, like both of us did last year, I can understand a little trepidation with that. What I can't understand is some of these people on these Dallas Cowboy message boards that'll be like, oh, come on, Zeke, just play through it and we'll pay you next year. Do you do that at your job?
Well, that's the thing. It's like I always say that to people when they say stuff like that. I said, all right, well, here's the deal. I said, whatever you do, you're the best at. Let's say you're you work at Starbucks. You're the best barista in the entire world right now. Are you not going to ask for more money because you're the best at what you do? And they told you that, we can't our team is going to suck without you. Our coffee will suck without you as the best barista in the world. If somebody tells you that, are you not going to ask for more money then?
Exactly.
Say, I mean, that's the thing. Everybody says that, but, oh, yeah, well, he's already a millionaire. Yeah, but he could be a bigger millionaire, I mean, somebody could say to you, oh, well, you're already worth $8,000. Don't you want to be worth 10? I mean, it's human nature to want to get paid what you're worth. I don't ever blame a player for that.
No doubt. I feel as if, like you said, everybody, every man, woman, hell, child wants to be paid what they're worth. So that's basically basic human knowledge right there. And his fans are real foolish with that. You see yesterday where Emmanuel Sanders and Cortland Sutton got into a fight?
Yeah, I didn't see all the details on it, but I saw the blurb when it popped up. What was the beef all about?
I don't know what the beef was all about, but they had to be separated. I guess apparently it got serious. They were throwing water bottles and stuff at each other. It's not like a training camp fight where an offensive player is going against a defensive player, but you have 2 players basically at the same position in the same room fighting each other. What the hell is going on in Denver?
Well, listen,
Emmanuel Sanders fighting anybody. Emmanuel Sanders got to be 35 years old.
I think the combination here is actually something that makes me happy as somebody who has a lot of Cortland Sutton shares here, right? Mm-hmm. Because you got the old dog and you got the young pup, right?
Yep.
And basically they're kind of fighting for, who's in control of the wide receiver locker room right now, which direction they're going to take is kind of the way that I was looking at it yesterday is, you got the old guy in there who's kind of on the tail end of his career trying to give the young guys advice on what they should do. And then you got the young guys who are like, listen, this is our time right now. I'm not going to sit here and listen to you anymore. This is my time to shine. I'll say this, Corey. I don't think it's a good look for the locker room.
No, it's not, because some of the things that was said was like, Sanders was more or less saying, you haven't done anything yet. You know what I'm saying? You walk around, your chest stuck out. you haven't done anything in this league yet. When you do something, come holler at me. And Sutton probably responded like a millennial would and was like, yo, you old, you washed up. Nobody cares about you no more. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I mean, listen, I can see both sides of the story from both of those guys. So the thing that really gets me is, if this happens on New England, right, you have the leadership in the locker room that's going to take care of it. Where's the leadership in that Denver locker room? You look at that, especially on the offensive side of the football. You look at the offensive side of the football over there. Emmanuel Sanders is the statesman. You got Joe Flacco in there who's a quarterback, but Joe Flacco's been with the team all of 4 months. You know what I'm saying? So his voice in the locker room might not be the voice in the locker room that has everybody listening to it. Their offensive MVP last year was a rookie in Phillip Lindsay. He's not the kind of guy that's going to be like, yo, cut the shit. This is a problem. Where does the leadership come from in that locker room? And the leadership you would assume would come from a guy like Emmanuel Sanders. So if Sanders is beefing with the young guys, who are the guys that are the ones that everyone are expecting to step up and be a part of it this year, I don't see that dynamic working itself out in a good way this season. So again, I was worried about the Broncos anyway, but this is not something you want to hear if you're a Broncos fan.
It's almost like this, Benny. It's like you look at this situation and everybody's wondering who's going to be the wide receiver to own in Denver.
Mm-hmm.
Why not Emmanuel Sanders?
I don't think you're wrong, especially after seeing what happened yesterday. I really don't think you're wrong there. I think the way I'm looking at it, Corey, is it comes down to ADP. And right now, Sanders is a guy who's falling.
Yeah.
Like, you're getting Sanders round 10, round 11. Like, he's available way late in drafts right now. Now, again, I'm not expecting the best season we've ever seen out of Emmanuel Sanders. You mentioned yourself, he's 34, 35 years old. Like, he's not a young guy anymore, but we've seen some of these older guys hang on and be fantasy relevant for a long time. I mean, hell, Larry Fitzgerald, every year people sleep on Larry Fitzgerald, and every year Larry Fitzgerald goes out and leads the Cardinals in receptions. Now, again, is he putting up the top-tier wide receiver 1 numbers that he was earlier in his career? No, not even close, but the guy's still been a useful player. Emmanuel Sanders, late in drafts, is a guy who could still be a useful player for you.
No doubt. He's 32 years old. 35 was an exaggeration. But he's put off this Achilles tear, which is going to put 3 years on you anyway. 71 catches last year, 98 targets. He was very good until he started late in the season. He started getting beat down and started getting banged up. And it's probably the same thing that happened to him again this year. The season gets later on and it wears down. He'll start to get beat up again and banged up again. His numbers are dip. Will he have over or under 71 catches for Emmanuel Sanders this year?
I mean, can the quarterback play for them be worse than it was last year? I mean, again, I'm not a huge Joe Flacco fan, but I think no. So I would say that there's at least a 50-50 chance that he ends up better than that as long as he stays healthy. For me, I think the production for him comes down to whether he stays healthy or not.
Yeah.
But what I'm doing right now is trying to figure out. So Cortland Sutton on here is going around like 97 overall, like the 38th, 40th wide receiver off the board. Emmanuel Sanders is going like 110. So 110, the 45th wide receiver off the board. You're talking round 9, round 10, if he's going at ADP 110 right now. And the ADP has actually been dropping, not moving up on Emmanuel Sanders. So at 9th, 10th round, I think that's a pretty good guy to grab. I mean, listen, who else in the 9th or 10th round is going to get 71 catches? Like, he's being taken, Corey, after N'Keal Harry, who isn't even on the field in tryouts for the, in preseason for New England right now. He's being taken after Curtis Samuel, who I like, but is, probably a third, fourth option on that team. Golden Tate, who as of the moment is suspended for a couple games. I wouldn't take him over. Our boy Geronimo Allison is right there. I wouldn't take him over Allison.
Yeah.
Kiki Kuti is right there. I don't think I would take him over Kiki Kuti, although I'm a lot higher on him than a lot of other people are. Like James Washington, DK Metcalf, Deshaun Jackson. That's the group that he's going in. Those are all the guys being drafted like 105 to 120 right there.
Yeah. And he can probably bring you the most production out of that group. The thing about it is he doesn't have no upside, and that's what fantasy players like, upside. Sometimes upside can be a dirty word. Excuse me, while I got this commercial playing right here in the background. Kyle Rudolph and Kirk Cousins were on really inside training camp last year, and Cousins said he wants to get Rudolph more involved, and he needs to be more aggressive, pushing the ball towards the tight end. When last season when Cousins signed in Minnesota, I was like, I like Rudolph because Cousins got affinity. Cousins like to throw the ball to the tight end. He got there last year and ignored the tight end. I've always been wrong with Kyle Rudolph. Remember back in the days of Rudolph the Red Zone Reindeer?
Yep.
He never scored no touchdowns. Like, I had him all of those years. Then he had that one year where he blew up. And I was off him completely. So, Benny, you're going to have to give the analysis on this one because I can't seem to figure out how to handicap Kyle Rudolph's game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I have the same problem with him. You know, this is a guy that last year he finished with 64 catches. He had 82 targets, 600 yards, and he only had 4 touchdowns, right? And I think 2 of those touchdowns came in one game, like late in the season. Late in the season against Detroit, he had a 2-touchdown game. Because I remember that for fantasy. I was on him in DFS that week. It was like the one time I've gotten Kyle Rudolph right. Because I feel like I'm of the same mindset, Corey. And I don't think it's because we're like, oh, we never get this guy right. I think it's because there's so few times that you actually can get him right. You know, like he pretty much underperforms, and he does this a lot of seasons. If you're a season-long player, you know you're going to get crap weeks out of him at least half the time.
Yep.
But there's going to be that one week where he puts up 2 touchdowns or has 5 catches for 100 yards and is going to remind everybody like, oh, yeah, Kyle Rudolph is not the worst tight end in the league. To me, at best, he's a back-end tight end 1 and probably more like your tight end 2. Like, he's probably not a guy that I put in the top 12 where, you know, I really want to be counting on him week in and week out. The other thing that happened last year that people don't realize is at the beginning of the season when people were projecting out Kyle Rudolph, you weren't projecting Adam Thielen for anywhere near the number of catches, targets, yards that Adam Thielen ended up having.
Thielen went crazy last year.
Yes, and it was over the middle of the field on the short passes, which are the same kind of routes that a guy like Kyle Rudolph runs. So if those passes are going to start going more towards Rudolph this year, if that's what people think, then you can't be high on Thielen. Me, I'm of the other mindset. I think Adam Thielen is a very underrated receiver. He's the kind of guy like a Julian Edelman that's always open. Like if you watch the tape with this guy, there's a reason why Cousins kept throwing him a ton of passes, and it wasn't that he was forcing the ball to him. It's that the guy's a really good route runner, and he gets himself into the right spots, and he's always open. So I don't really think, you know, like he was saying, he needs to be more aggressive getting the ball to Kyle Rudolph. Do you want him to force the ball to Kyle Rudolph in a small window, or do you want him to keep throwing to Thielen when Thielen's getting these big windows because he's getting breaks and separation from the DBs and the linebackers that are trying to cover him in the slot?
He's got a contract to live up to.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying is the way that he played last year is why he got that contract and all that to begin with. This is a guy that's really, really good. And if you think Thielen is really, really good and he's running the same kind of routes that Rudolph is, just doing it better, why would they force the ball into Rudolph when
Thielen's clearly a better player?
You know what I'm saying? So that's my whole thing with Rudolph is I don't see him having a breakout or becoming a bigger part of the offense because the reason he wasn't last year hasn't changed. Thielen's still the better route runner in the middle of the field, you know, between the hashes.
Let me ask you this. Your Jets, one of the knock that I have against a lot of people that, you know, I consider smart people, I think me and you may have discussed this too. I don't know how I feel about it though. The knock against Le'Veon Bell this year is people saying that the Jets, well, not the Jets, but Adam Gase's pace of play is going to be a hindrance to Lev Bell and the Jets offense. And my thing is, okay, what are you basing this off of? And they're like, well, look at his pace of play in Miami. And I'm like, they didn't have nobody on Miami. Where are you at with Adam Gase in this pace of play conversation with the Jets?
So my biggest problem here is that I want to be careful taking what we saw in a small sample size in Miami and trying to project it out as that's what it's going to be. And you mentioned one of the things that's different is the pieces of the puzzle that you have to play with are a lot different. You know what I'm saying? Like if I'm coaching the Golden State Warriors, my team is going to play an up-tempo offense. If I'm coaching the Utah Jazz, I'm not playing an up-tempo offense because of the players that you have there and being able to work with it. Now, Gase, to me, isn't a guy who's going to be a slave to a system, especially because the system really didn't work all that well last year.
I don't know. I see Gase being a guy that's like that, though. But I see Gase being like, this is my way and it's going to work. I see Gase 100% being that guy.
Then I'm not going to be very happy about it, to be honest with you.
Okay.
My whole thing with Le'Veon Bell is this, because I don't think the argument holds as much weight for Le'Veon Bell as it does for Sam Darnold.
Okay.
Because Le'Veon Bell is going to get his touches one way or another, in my opinion. You know, like whether it's running the football or whether it's in the passing game. So even if you're playing a slower pace of play, he's still probably the guy that's going to end up with 15 to 25 touches every game, depending on how things work out. Where it would affect things is, you know, if you have Sam Darnold throwing 35 passes a game, he could sneak into being a top 8 quarterback at the end of the year.
I agree.
That's his ceiling. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying go draft him. He's going to be a top 8 quarterback. I'm saying that's his ceiling. If they're going to have a slow pace of play, though, it would not shock me if he's quarterback 20 to 30 this year with like good accuracy and you know, decent touchdown numbers and improvement. But pace of play is definitely something that's important. I mean, why did we want everybody on that Eagles team a couple years ago when they had Chip Kelly? You know, why do we like a team like, you know, the Colts who have a little bit of a faster no-huddle pace of play? Why do we always play the Pittsburgh Steelers at home and not on the road? You know, the whole Ben Roethlisberger at home and road thing, Corey, yeah. I've been screaming from the hilltops for years that it has to do with their pace of play. When they're at home, they run a lot more no-huddle. So they're getting more plays in. So Ben's putting up 300-something yards and 3 or 4 touchdowns. When they're on the road, they slow it down a little more. You know, they play at a normal pace of play, and that's why he's only going for 250 and 2 or whatever the deal is. The pace of play affects the offense a lot. So my biggest problem with Gase, though, is, again, I haven't seen him as the coach of the Jets. The only year we saw him was in the Miami team that had no talent, really. I don't know if that's going to be the way that he wants to go. But, yeah, it's definitely something that's concerning, and I think it's kind of baked in. You know, I think people have kind of baked it in already because if you thought Le'Veon Bell was going to be a guy who gets, you know, 20, 25 touches this year, like everybody, you know, like he says he's going to, you know, whatever he said in that thing, I'm going to have 500 carries there, 500 touches this year or something, he would be a top 3 pick because he would probably be up there in the same breath that we're talking about Christian McCaffrey and Barkley and Zeke and all those guys. The fact that people are worried about what his touches are going to be because of the way that Kenyon Drake was being used. Like, Kenyon Drake is not Le'Veon Bell.
Not by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, so I don't want to draw the comparison that, well, he's going to use him like he used Kenyon Drake and he's going to run that offense like he did in Miami. You have completely different personnel here. So hopefully that's not the way it is because I'm going to be honest, that would be very boring to watch a slow-paced Jet team for the entire
season. Because you have to watch those games too.
Mm-hmm.
Same division, Benny. Have you been hearing about this UDFA, this undrafted free agent in New England, Jacoby Myers?
No, I haven't, but what's the deal? But it doesn't shock me either that the best scouting department in the league found the gem.
It's a wide receiver, though. They don't develop wide receivers. They've done very terrible at that. But obviously, apparently this kid is playing real good. He's outperforming N'Keal Harry, which I think N'Keal Harry is going to be a tremendous bust this year. And I had some Patriots fans coming at me because of that. But you tell me the player at that position that they have developed. Now this kid Myers, Jacoby Myers, I don't think we're going to see. Probably this week we'll start to see him pop. Kind of dollar Mickey Holler guy, UDFA. Most places wouldn't make the team, but the Patriots they have issues at wide receiver. So it's a little note out of Patriots camp. Also, they say that Sony Michel is catching the football better in camp this year. So I'm like, that's kind of lip service to me because that's James White's role. But I do like to hear, though, is that Michel is, in fact, practicing.
Yeah, I mean, that's the bigger takeaway for me is that he's out there on the field and he'll probably be ready and we don't have to worry about, you know, him not being the running back when the season starts. I put zero faith in this whole he's catching the ball out of the backfield more thing. Zero.
I agree.
Yeah, maybe he gets a couple targets, but I mean, like you said, James White is one of the best in the league at that role, and the Patriots are all about putting guys in the roles where they belong and they can succeed. James White is still going to have his role. It's not like Sony Michel is going to become a 3-down back all of a sudden. That's not going to happen.
I'm a guy that has a lot of love for Damian Williams, but Damian Williams is being slowed down by a hamstring. If you are a guy like me that's on Damian Williams, make sure you draft Carlos Hyde. Carlos Hyde should not go undrafted in the 12-team mixed league. Benny, they don't have AFC-only leagues. Carlos Hyde.
I'm sure somebody does, actually. But yeah, it is a lot more of a baseball thing.
Carlos Hyde should not go undrafted in the 12-team league, Benny.
I mean, you're not going to get an argument from me. I was saying, like, when we were talking the Peyton Barber argument last week, it's like I would rather have a Carlos Hyde than a Peyton Barber because Peyton Barber's ceiling is 10, 12 fantasy points. Carlos Hyde's ceiling, if Damian Williams fails or, things don't work out, is 25, 30 and being a week winner and a league winner because you're getting him in the 9th and 10th round right now around ADP 100. So, I'm all about that, man. Carlos Hyde definitely should be on a roster. Carlos Hyde should be rostered before a lot of other scrubs you've been taking on your fantasy drafts. Let me say that.
I would agree with you on that one. Miles Sanders has been the star in Philadelphia's backfield so far. I still think he gets off to a slow start. I think they'll go with the veteran because of that pass protection to make sure Carson Wentz is safe. But then I keep saying you play the long game with Miles Sanders. I think he's going to be a guy that you're going to see help you win some championships down the stretch. Benny, Todd Gurley.
Yes.
Basically not practicing, not going to play in the preseason games. And they're going to, I guess, I don't want to say be a part-time player, but they're going to make sure he's going to have efficient reps when the season starts. Is Todd Gurley going to finish as the top 12 running back this year?
If he does, he's going to finish – I'm going to say yes, but it's going to be towards the back end of that.
Okay.
He's going to be running back 9, running back 8, something like that. Because I think you're going to see – now, again, this is what we heard from the beginning. We talked about this about a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if the touches are going to drop as much as people think they are. He's still going to get, in my opinion, 15 to 20 touches.
Okay.
But instead of being on the field for 90% of the team snaps or 95% of the team snaps, he's going to be on the field for 70% of the snaps. So when he's on the field, like you were saying, they want him to be, quote unquote, more efficient. So what they're really saying is when he's on the field, we're going to give him the ball. Now, that could be a problem, Corey.
They're going to know.
Because defenses are also hearing the same thing that we're hearing. So they're going to start playing their defense that way. Now, again, maybe it makes the play action a little more productive because teams are going to start cheating up. They do have a very well-rounded offense. Goff is getting better, checking out of plays and getting them into spots. But you got to think, like, if you're thinking you're going to get the production out of Todd Gurley that he had last year, it's not going to happen. Like, you're not going to get that same level. But I don't think it's going to be as big a hit as some people are pretending it's going to be.
I will have 0 shares.
I already have some, but he's not a guy that I'm actively trying to get more of on my team. Let me say it that way.
No doubt, 0 shares for me. I'm not involved. I'm not interested. One more person. Oh, this reminds me of last year so much. The guy I wasn't interested in last year was Marquise Goodwin, but his ADP was right in that same area that Chris Godwin's ADP is this year. And just like I am with Godwin, last year I was passing by Godwin. Just like I am with – you don't understand what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
The player from Tampa this year and the player from San Francisco last year, ADP was in that same range. And last year I was passing on the Tampa receiver. This year I'm passing – last year I was passing on 49er receiver. This year I'm passing on the Tampa receiver. They're talking about he might not even make the team now, Marquise Goodwin. What a fall from grace for this guy, number one. But number two, Benny, this our boy Debo, this might be a thing, Benny. We might be onto something with Debo Samuels.
I don't think there's any might to it. Like I said, I think there's only 2 guys, in my opinion, on San Francisco's wide receiver core that are going to make any kind of impact this year. And again, I look at things a little differently than a lot of the season-long guys do. I look at it season long, yes, but also like with a daily fantasy, twist for it, because that's really where I'm going to be playing most of my capital and hopefully making most of my money this year. Deebo Samuels, to me, is the number one receiver in San Francisco right now. Pettis is the number two. Like, Samuels is the guy who I think has the chance to emerge as a, 7 to 10 target a game kind of guy in that offense. And that, with Jimmy Garoppolo as the quarterback, is a very good place to be. Like, that's not a bad thing, overall. I got to be honest, Marquise Goodwin, if they cut him, that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, because Goodwin and Garoppolo 2 years ago were like a stud combination together. As long as this guy still has that world-class speed, to me, you can always find a spot for a guy like that on your team. Even if he's just a guy that you're running long every play to kind of stretch the defense, because you could definitely hit him long. If they cut him, he's going to wind up on the Patriots.
Oh, I can definitely see that.
Without a doubt. They'll take a guy with world-class speed, and they'll figure out a way to get him the ball.
The thing about it is, if he does end up on the Patriots, like, is he going to be another casualty of a Patriot wide receiver that ain't worth nothing?
But again, the Patriots aren't looking for him to be a all-pro. They're looking for him to stretch the field. Your job is to stretch the field, and we'll take some shots to you to make teams keep that safety back so that we can operate underneath. Like, that's the way you play football. Every piece of your team makes things easier for other people, because defensive coaches, have to figure out how to defend it. And if you don't defend it, the guy still has world-class speed where he can run by people. If you leave him one-on-one on the outside with some of these quarterbacks, he's going to get some long touchdowns for you. And that's the thing. So I don't know why you get rid of a weapon like that. Again, maybe the injury slowed him down. I mean, listen, he's not a big guy. He's never really been known as the greatest route runner. So if he can't run 4.3 anymore, there's really no reason to keep him around.
Where are you at on Josh Gordon? I was on the draft Josh Gordon and, pray for the best for years. Last year, it was the first time I was like, I'm done. I'm out. I don't care no more. It's over. We're never going to get what we saw, I believe, what was that, 2013 or whatever, 2012. We're never going to see that again. You know what I'm saying?
In small stretches, he did it in New England last year, though.
He got a good amount of targets, and you saw some
flashes. Like I said, small stretches. You saw some flashes.
This guy's still a fairly young guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't even think he's 30 yet.
Benny, I think it's over, Benny. I think it's too much substance abuse. I think the body is breaking down. I think he's on the NFL. I think he's on a team and in the league right now because they're like, okay, well, it's better for him to be with us in this grouping, in this setting, than him to be on the streets trying to figure it out. You know what I mean?
All right, so here's what I'll say, Corey. He's still on the Patriots.
No doubt.
I think they just said he just filed for reinstatement, like, recently. We are talking all preseason about how the Patriots wide receiver core basically sucks.
Right. Yeah.
He's the second best wide receiver on the Patriots the minute he steps in that locker room if he's eligible. Which means he's on the field. Now, again, if you're expecting him to be Randy Moss with Tom Brady, I don't think that happens.
No.
But there were times last year where he had some 100-yard games and, he had games with 5 to 7 targets. The thing you really got to think about, too, is where are you drafting Josh Gordon this year? We're not being asked to pay a 6th-round price for him. You're getting him as a guy in the 14th, 15th round that people are laughing at you like, oh, he's suspended. But if he's not, you just got a receiver that should have been a 6th or 7th-round pick in the 14th round. So, again, when you're looking for upside and things that can swing a championship your way, that can make you win an overall, getting a receiver that could be a number 1 receiver on the Patriots in round 13, round 14, hell, round 17, round 18 in some of these drafts, there's worse ways to go.
Yeah, my thing is I'm kind of like I wouldn't mind putting him in a DFS lineup one Sunday. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, he will be. If he plays, there will be a week or two where he winds up in a DFS lineup of mine.
He's not going to be on my season-long team because I don't want to get into a point where – I hate to say it like this, Benny, you know what I'm saying, because it might sound a little bit heartless. But I don't want to get to the point where I'm depending on him.
Right.
Pops a dirty urine and I can't depend on him no more. You know what I'm saying?
So my whole thing is he's a deep bench best ball play.
Yeah.
He's a guy that in a deep bench league you put on, you take, And it's a best ball thing where if he pops, he pops. And if he doesn't, so what? You wasted a 20th round pick. You know what I mean?
No doubt. FantasyGuru.com Draft Guide 2019 now available. So you want to go over there and check that out. I saw where our boy John Hanson, the Guru, is going to be doing a premium podcast. So you want to get on board with that. Also get on board with Elite Sports Betting and NFL Guru Elite DFS is now available for 2019 also. So they got some specials going on over there, right, Benny?
Yeah, I know. I think there's a early bird special going on right now at the Fantasy Guru site. It's 50% off. So normally it's $100 for the season. Right now it's $49.99. I know for the DFS one, we also have if you sign up for DFS football right now, you actually get the rest of baseball season thrown in for free.
How about that?
That's a really good deal. You're going to get guys like me, DC, Vlad, Brian Healy, who we just brought on, who's a really, really sharp guy. Won another $50K over the weekend, taking down the
this kid win every week.
Oh man, he really does, man. He's I like the way he goes about doing it and putting his lineups together and all that stuff. I try to learn as much as I can from the other guys that I work with here. I mean, I know, people are coming here to learn from me too, but we have some of the best in the industry here. So we even learn stuff from each other. The way he puts together his multi-entry teams, which is something I've never really been very good at, has made me better at doing it. I started messing around with it in like the $10 and $20 tournaments. So, I'm going to start stepping up and, maybe I'll go up to the 150. I don't want to play with him in the 300 because then we'll have the same lineups and I wound up losing money. But
no doubt,
that's very good.
You know what I'm saying? Like you say, each one teach one. The goal is to all get it done right here, and hopefully we got you covered right there with the Elite Sports family from FantasyGuru.com to Elite Sports Betting, and of course the NFL, the Elite Fantasy, the DFS stuff. Like you said, you can get the baseball, the football, and the betting. You know what I mean? So we got you covered. Make some money this fall. Make some money. Have a good Christmas. What we got tonight, speaking of making money, Benny, what we got tonight in Major League Baseball?
Yeah, again, the later in the season that we start getting a lot of these minus 190, minus 200 favorites. So there's a bunch of guys I liked, but I'm not really going to bet on. Here's some of the things, though, that are at a decent –
Those big favorites scare me, Benny, because they seem like they lose a lot.
Well, that's the thing is that, at the beginning of the season when those guys are minus 165, minus 175, it's a lot easier to take it. When you start getting to minus 200, minus 300, you're basically saying that these guys are going to win 66 to 75% of the time.
Yeah.
And even the best teams in baseball right now have under a 70% winning percentage. So it doesn't seem like it, but you're really giving away an edge when you're betting minus 240, minus 300s, which is why I don't do it. So, the stuff that I'm going to give you guys is stuff that minus 150, minus 130, like in a range where you're betting 100, you're making $70 back on the dollar, or you're making 80 cents back on the dollar, like the White Sox bet I liked yesterday. And today, there's two of those that I'm really looking at. So I like the Red Sox to score some runs against Jake Junis.
Makes sense.
I can get over 5.5 at minus 130, which I think is a pretty good deal. Now, again, it's not, I would like it at even money, but at even money, it seems like a slam dunk. But over 5.5 minus 130 on the Red Sox today against Junis, I think is good.
Let me ask you this right quick, Benny. Let me hop in here. FanDuel has it at plus money, at even money.
For six.
Over 6.
I would be fine with that. Even money over 6, I'd be fine with. If it was 6.5 for even money, I wouldn't do it.
No doubt.
Yeah, because now you need 7 runs, but at even money on 6, you're going to break even. And if they do go over 6, which I think is a very good possibility. I mean, I like them over 5.5.
Yeah.
You're
So
going to get paid
basically, are you willing to bet? Are you willing to take the plus money or the even money to push? Yeah,
to push, and I'd be fine with that. Again, like I said, if it was 6.5, where the hook goes to them and you're going to lose, I wouldn't have been willing to do that. But at 6, I'd be willing to take even money absolutely on FanDuel. As a matter of fact, I already bet the minus 134 over 5.5 on DraftKings, so now I'll have to go check out FanDuel. I'll probably put a little bit on that one too.
No doubt.
The other bet I like today is Minnesota. So Minnesota right now on DraftKings is minus 155. You got Berrios going up against Mike Folty-Newitz for Atlanta. Now, Folty in his last start basically got lit up and looked horrible. And I have a lot of respect for that Minnesota offense. Top to bottom, that entire lineup I think is pretty good. So Minnesota at 155, I think, is value because I figured that would have been with Berrios on the mound more of like a, like some of the other ones, like a 180, 190 kind of favorite.
Yeah.
So Berrios at minus 155 is definitely my favorite bet of the day. Minnesota minus 155 with Berrios on the mound is my favorite bet today.
There you go right there. That's my man, Benny Ricciardi. I'm Corey Parson, the fantasy executive. Big piece of chicken. I meant to give it out the other day, but I want to give it out today. I want to give it to Ed Reed, and I want to give it to whoever made Ed Reed's Hall of Fame bust. I've never seen nothing like that in my life, Benny. Have you seen Ed Reed's Hall of Fame bust?
No.
It's amazing. Look it up right now. Just Google Ed Reed Hall of Fame bust.
It looks exactly like him, or is it somebody who screwed it up?
Benny, you Google it. I just want to see your facial expression when you Google it. You know what I'm saying?
Hold on, I'll do this right now before we get off it. Hold on.
I want to see your reaction to
Ed Reed Hall of Fame bust. Let's see. Yo, that's pretty good, man.
Benny, that is the dopest Hall of Fame bust I've ever seen in my life.
That's pretty good. He's got like the hair, the spike hair, and the the thick beard and all that. It looks exactly like him too when they have the picture next to him.
That's amazing, Benny.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, I remember a couple years ago somebody had one that was horrible. Looked nothing like him.
I remember what you're talking about, and they sort of side by side of Reed's bust and that bust the other day, and I was just fell out dying because definitely the bust making whoever made the Ed Reed one, that one is spectacular.
Yeah, I mean, that's the detail on it. I'll be honest with you guys. I don't even have a big piece of chicken, but I'm giving mine to the guy that made this Ed Reed bust. Go right now after you guys sign off and just type in Ed Reed Hall of Fame bust. That's pretty legit, man. That's pretty good. I want one of those of me right now.
Now, how about that, Benny? You know what I'm saying? Hopefully, I get that person to make that joint for me, too. All right, so there you go right there. For my main man, Benny, it's Corey Parson, the fantasy executive, to open the line. We are out.